Welcome to the Iconic Wealth for Women mini-series. This episode, we've been talking about building wealth after 40. Is it too late? Now we're going to get into some practical steps, because obviously we know it's great to listen around these stories. We've had incredible, inspiring stories around how people have turned it around from zero, made millions, built their businesses, got success. But you're probably sitting there thinking, well, that's great for you. We hear that all the time. It's wonderful for you. You're there. But how do we get started? So we've talked about some of the challenges. We've talked about strategies. We've talked about finding the different vehicles that might actually work for you. But we know the biggest mistake you can do is listen to this and sit there and go, I'll do this another day. Because we know if you want to build your wealth or turn things around, then we need to get started. So, Lisa, if a woman's watching you today, they want to change their financial future, what's the first action that you recommend she take right now?
The very first thing that I would do is work out what you enjoy so that you can work out how to use that to make money. I would also, if I'm honest, do some mindset work. Mm-hmm. So I would have a look at what has stopped you so far from doing what you really want to do to make money. Now, for me, that's money mindset work. I think it's really important to figure out like what you really believe in money so that you can undo any of the learnings you have around money that, let's be honest, have probably been given to you by parents and teachers and all sorts of different people. Yeah. If you undo that learning, then suddenly it makes things open a little bit more for you to be able to think, well, actually, yeah, I can make money. I think you work on the belief system first because, you know, I give people strategy for how to make money. I literally give them a step-by-step plan. Do this, 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 and this, and you will make this. And they go, okay. And then they don't do it. So what I've realized is it doesn't matter how many times I tell people to do something unless they have the belief and the confidence in themselves to go and do it, because implementation is everything. Yeah. Like I have courses out there that people can take and they do them and they write everything down and then they put the book on the shelf and nothing ever actually gets done. And the only thing that moves you from where you are now on A to where you want to get to on B is action. And it doesn't matter if it's the wrong action. Like you can do loads of wrong actions, but any action will either teach you something or get you there. Yeah. But if we do nothing because we're scared of making the wrong action, then we're going to be in the same place. Somebody once said to me, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And as soon as someone said that to me, I was like, God, yeah. I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different life and a different result. I need to do something completely different and do some actions that are scary, that might not work, but it's an action. And they didn't work in the beginning, but it didn't matter because it taught me what I do need to do. So for me, it's about belief and action.
I love that. And I think we've all been at fault of sometimes, all right, I'm a really good note taker. Great journals. I've got so many journals and I look back and go, oh, wow, the amount of information, but just implemented them 10 years ago. So it's fascinating. So I really love that. I appreciate it. First action steps is getting out there and actually taking some sort of imperfect action. We like to call it, don't we? Caroline. So obviously with you, there's, what's your favourite kind of, I guess, tool or resource? So obviously you do a lot of inner work.
Yep.
So you do a lot of trauma work, a lot of inner work, a lot of focus. Yeah. We talk about that. So everyone talks about, get a money mindset. It's like, but what does that actually mean? So what are some of the practical things that they can do to get started at home today?
I think some of the practical things, especially as women, you know, we tend to say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy for this. I'm busy for that. Because we all have busy lives at the end of the day, you know, especially if we have children. And, you know, one of the things I teach a lot of the people in my communities is, if we know we want to get somewhere and we keep saying, I am too busy, we ban the word busy. I've banned that word. What you say is, I'm abandoning myself. So we are not allowed to say I am busy. We're saying, if I'm not doing that, I'm abandoning myself, regardless of whether it's self-care or building your business. And you have to look really from a sort of high performance hack perspective on this. Look at your current life. So I do a lot of time blocking. So when I'm using my phone with my diary, I'll put in the kids stuff first. I say kids, they're 17 and 20 now, but mainly Maddie now, with taking her to school and picking her up and things like this. Then I put in some self-care. So these are non-negotiables that are in my life and some family time. Yep. And then I time block around all of those things. And I've learned to trust myself that in a week, I could have a really, really super busy week. And if I'm look in my diary at the whole of that week, I can feel my nervous system becoming very, very dysregulated. So I have learned to literally one day at a time. So I look at that day, and even if I feel the day's busy, I look at what am I doing till lunchtime. So it becomes just enough for me to, because I know I'm going to get to the end of the week anyway, but if I focus on the end of the week, I end up doing nothing or feeling like I'm just in a shutdown. The other hack that really, really works well for me is I use noise cancelling earphones. So if I'm sat at my desk and I'll use time blocking, I will have a clock. I will turn my phone away and have no distractions with that. I will put a timer on my clock for a specific task. I will put noise cancelling earphones on, no music, no nothing, and literally I get in the zone. And I am so much more productive like that too. Meaning in 6 hours of productivity, if I'd have been faffing around, that would have been 12 hours. And I can stop saying I'm too busy now because I've just saved myself 6 hours to go and do something else.
I love that.
I love that. I mean, don't you think if people just spent the time that they spend scrolling social media on building a business, they'd all be rich?
Absolutely. But again, I know there are reasons why, because, you know, in some of the work I do when we work with parts of us, so a procrastinating part is there for a reason. It's there to stop me from maybe being successful or visible, because if I'm that, bad stuff's going to happen.
So again, scroll instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'll scroll because I'll avoid doing the thing I should be doing.
So it's being really specific. And in your diary, when you're time blocking, you're not just saying work on my business. You are being ultra specific about what you are doing when you work on that business. So you literally know from your transition from one thing to another, right, now I am doing this. It's not like, oh, I'm in my business. What am I doing now? Oh, yeah, I'm doing this. Well, you've wasted 2 minutes then. And I know that might sound a lot, but, you know, 20 times over a week, that's 40 minutes. Well, that could have been you go and have a massage or
time
something.
blocking a day, a week back.
Yes.
I only work 4 days a week because of time blocking.
Because it adds up, though. Just like you said, the distractions. I know when I just turn off I'm terrible on WhatsApp. So it's like, but at the minute I get rid of that, I'll put my phone in another room and get on with stuff, is when, exactly like I said, because I'm not constantly stopping just to see what that other person said. I'm actually focused on the task.
We did an experiment. We asked people, how many hours do you think you're on social media in our audience? And they all said things like 1.5 throughout a day, maybe 2. And then we downloaded an app onto their phones and said, okay, we're going to look at it at the end of the week. They were on their social media for 6 to 7 hours a day.
Oh my God, I'm not, no.
It's so easy when you put them all together for it to be much longer than you think. And then we wonder why we have no time to do that.
But they're scrolling to find the villain to give them the reason why they're not doing anything.
Of course they are. Who can I blame for the distraction?
That's why I'm not successful, because
my fault. Yeah, it wasn't my fault. I remember when I first got started in my business, I gave up TV. So I literally took my TV out of my room and got on with it. So I couldn't sit there at night time. So instead I was learning at night because I wanted to study courses. I wanted to learn education. So I got rid of TV when I first got started. And my biggest step in relation to time blocking was putting my own person in the diary. So one of my biggest faults was not looking after myself.
There you go.
Yeah,
priorities, isn't
priorities.
it?
So now I have Linda in my diary, and whenever Linda's in my diary, she's a client, but she's me.
And it
I have to
takes
treat her
away.
like a client.
When you're doing the self-care and things like this, a lot. I mean, I even just had this conversation with my son. Is it final part of uni, doing all of his final, dissertation assignments, and he's like, "No, I need to do this today." I'm like, do you know what? Just give yourself permission to have this day off, because you know what? If you push through today, your performance levels are not going to be good.
I call that positive procrastination, a positive way of not doing something. So that then if it feels like you're walking through treacle, the next day you'll probably speed through it if you give yourself a bit of time off.
If you do 4 hours tomorrow, that will be like 8 hours of productivity and you are well rested. And actually you'll be in a different part of your brain and you will go to a higher level, even academically, like that too. It's not doing nothing is still doing something, because you're resting and you're coming back to a level of higher performance when you come back.
Yeah, and you have to choose to do that. I had to choose that a lot. Otherwise, I'd just work through and push through. Steph, in relation to your kind of journey, so I'm going to push for you, because obviously you've talked a lot about investing and battling that money thing. Yeah. So what's been your biggest investment that you made, or what do you recommend if you're starting a business in relation to investment?
Well, the property business that I got, you don't need a huge amount of investment for. But what's the best kind of investment? Kind of depends on where you are in your journey, what track record you've got, how credible you are, how much belief you have in yourself. Because some people can come new into it and get private finance investment or get, other funding. But why I love property, going on to a slight tangent, is because, for example, one block of flats that I mentioned that we bought, which was 440, we actually got it for 375. And it was already tenanted. So it's like buying a cash flowing business. And as people moved out, we did it up. So our investment was slowly.
I love that.
And the asset then, within a couple of years, because this all started in 2019, so now 6 years ago, but within a couple of years, because we'd done up all the flats, it was then worth 660 because the rental value had gone up so much. So and we're in a lower capital value area. So what I'm trying to get to is that from a low, well, it's not a low investment. I'm sure people want to pay 100K.
Yeah.
It's not a low investment, but our actual investment was not that high.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was 100K that was locked in for a time. And then you're leveraging other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that's so important for women to understand. Most of the billionaires, they're not investing.
It's not their money, is it?
Money.
Yeah.
They're bringing
Yeah.
people together
Yeah.
and investing other people's money, funds and trusts and all of that. But we as women and business owners also have the capacity to do that. And, I didn't think that, normal people did this sort of thing. But it's just taking that £100,000 and then buying that asset. There was additional investment to refurbish, and then now, or a few years ago, it was worth 660,000. Maybe it's worth a little bit more now, and also it gives cash flow of £66,000 every year.
Yeah.
And because it's obviously a building that's going to be there for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, what we're doing is we're setting it into a trust that can be an accommodation and education trust, so that the people who live there can be people who struggle to find, beautiful, affordable homes,
lovely.
but also can be learning about how to buy their own home, how to invest, how to improve their situation. And that I have a son, my sister who I run the business with doesn't have any children. So he will be a trustee on that, in that trust, to providing that housing. So that's the other thing that I love about property, is it's going to be there for long after we are, and that it's still going to be performing our purpose and of our gift. So that's what I'm going to call a small investment.
Yeah. I love
A few years ago has got so much bonus in terms of the financial gain for us, but also for the community and for the people who live there, but also for the future in terms of the trust.
I think that's really powerful, because it's like you said, you've invested in something. Again, we've talked a lot about quick wins, haven't we, or instant gratification. And you look at something like that, it's a longer term investment, but it's a solid investment. And whether you're building a business or whether you're investing in yourself, time, education, it's about the longer term investment in relation to growing where you're at. So I love that story. It's beautiful. And I just think that, we've obviously covered various different strategies today. We've talked about different things. What's one, I'm going to be a really cheesy question here, because I really want this to be a bit cheesy, but what's the one piece of advice you kind of wish every woman had before starting a wealth journey? I just want to go cheese for
Love that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest piece of advice would be to not take advice from somebody who you don't want to be where they are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people taking a lot of advice from people that they don't want to be doing the same thing as them, or, they don't really look up to. And I feel like I did a bit of that at the beginning. Like my friends were giving me advice, and they're great friends, but they're not financially where I wanted to be. And people would say to me, who I know, like even my husband would say to me, "Oh, I don't think you need a mentor. I don't think you need to buy a course." And I'll be like, "Yeah, okay." but I'm taking advice from somebody who is in the same financial predicament as I am. So I think it's really important to look for those people that you do want to emulate, not be, but emulate. You want their kind of life. And that might not be all the flashy stuff and the private jets. It might
Never
be.
do the handbags. It's never going to be me, no matter how much. No,
But it
not a
might be that
handbag
you just
girl.
want to spend more time with your
Yeah.
kids, for instance.
Yeah.
So find people who are doing that and look at what they're doing. Because like you said before, success leaves clues. And I think and there was one more piece of advice that someone gave me in that first year. And that was, people's opinions don't matter if they don't pay your bills.
Oh, I like that.
And that really was powerful for me, because people were telling me I shouldn't be talking about money online, I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm a bad person for, showing up and all of these different things. And I was starting to listen to them. And then someone said to me, does that stranger on the internet, did it have anything to do with how you're going to pay your bills this month? And I was like, no. And they were like, stop listening. I was like, yeah, that's true. It's not going to affect them.
Yeah, totally.
It's true, because it's not, is it? It's got nothing to do with, we always take the wrong advice from the wrong people sometimes. It's like the guy down the pub, doesn't it? You never talk to them, your best mates, and
Or
never
the
going to...
taxi driver, they tell you
Exactly.
everything you should be doing.
Oh my God, the taxi drivers always have a story, don't they? They always do. Love it. Caroline, what's the thing that you wish you'd known or been told, or wish you could share with other women?
Stop waiting for somebody else to rescue you. You need to rescue yourself.
And shining armour's not coming, is he?
No, it's not an idiot in tin foil, let's be honest, I think it's that moment you take responsibility for your own happiness, your own wealth, all of those things, and stop waiting for somebody else to do that for you. It's the biggest gift you can give yourself, and it's the biggest gift you can give your children.
Love it. Powerful. Steph.
Yeah. And I suppose mine is stop consuming, start creating. Now, it doesn't mean never consume, but one of the things that I think is such a shame for women is that we're told that shopping is a hobby. And for many women who are broke, can't, living paycheck to paycheck, they're using shopping as a hobby, and it should be investing. But we're not really taught the power of investing, the magical power of compound interest. If there are women listening today and they're never going to start a property business, they're never going to start any other kind of business, we should all be taking advantage of the power of compound interest.
Yeah.
Because I recently I love to give little workshops, just introducing people who've never thought that that stocks and shares investing is something for them. The simple way that every single woman can open a stocks and shares ISA and begin investing in funds. And even with a small, I think most people, if they juggle their income, most people watching this video could find £125 a month. With 30 years, with the average returns we've seen in the stocks funds in the past years, they would have over £300,000. Now, if they increased it at 10% each year, it would be even more.
Yep.
So even for a woman who's in her 40s, 50s or beyond, when they start, they can also invest, whether it be whatever they can afford, because even £10 a month will go up to £65,000. All of that interest on the interest, we are literally throwing money away by not investing. And I think I'll end on pay yourself first. That investment, whether it's £10, £100, for some people it might be £1,000 or more every month, is to give you that ability to be able to walk tall, to know that you can take care of your family no matter what happens, because that money has been paid. It's it's as important, let's say, than your mortgage, your rent, your food. You just pay that money and invest in yourself.
And that's
first.
real passive income. Making your money make money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like people come to me and then I send them to people like you. So I'm like, now you've made the money in the passive income, go and make that money, make more money, because that's real passive income.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk a lot about in the Iconic community, is just get started investing. So we helped someone the other day, and she's already seeing increases, but we were sharing some stories, and one of my good friends said, I started one of those just a few years ago. She's a single mum, 3 kids, running a really fairly successful business, busy, crazy busy. And she said, I've now built another pot of 20, it's only 20,000, but she's like, that's my security pot. And she just, like I said, all she did was she started, and we talk about this a lot, is getting rid of your subscriptions. So the minute you cancel a subscription, add it to your investment pot instead, because you've been used to paying for it. You pay it out regularly anyway. So if you go and cancel any type of subscription, don't absorb the money. Start investing with that money, because the compound effect of that will add.
Because it's easy to absorb it, isn't it?
It is.
Not think
So
about where your
quickly.
money is going.
Yeah, I cancelled 2 software platforms the other week. I was just like, I don't need them anymore, cancelled them. And I was like, well, there's 300 quid. And I was like, well, I could just absorb it, but I've been used to paying it out for literally the last 2 years. So immediately I put 2/3 of it straight into my investment pot. And it's like, done, don't touch it, goes out automatically, and it's another subscription. And I think that's where, for me, these little actions, these little steps is what we talk about. Obviously, we can build businesses. Investing is another side of it. We've talked about property as well. So I think for me, there's any way that we can actually get started out there, is hopefully we've shown you in this series. So obviously we've done the series all around turning life around at 40, turning your wealth around. But the simple fact is, everything we've shown is, no matter where you're at in relation to your life, your current situation or your circumstances, start to have a look at your own situation, start to look at your own resources, work out where you are now and where you want to get to, and then start from there.